What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is your boy Frankie Bones, and today have to sadly bring you guys this video, talk a little bit about the slide that the New York Yankees are currently on, a little bit of the status of the team, bring out some stats just to talk about sort of what's going on with this team at the moment, and then look forward at some of the next couple of matchups that we have coming up, and how important some of these games might be to determine the rest of the season. If you guys enjoyed this video, please feel free to drop a like. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for more Yankees videos in the future. And let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think of this Yankees team, how they've been performing, and still if they're a contender to win the World Series this season. So, first thing that we'll talk about, just a couple of notes over the past couple of series. Know that I haven't done a video in a while, but over the last 9 games are 3-6. They went 1-2 at Minnesota, losing the season series to Minnesota. First time since I think either the early 2000s or 1990s, so a little bit of a weird result. We then travel down to Texas. We go 1-3 against a revamped Texas Rangers team. And now where we sit, tied with the Guardians at 1-1. The Yankees end up winning last night. I was going to make this video yesterday, so I guess the video might be a little more positive after a win and a chance to win the rubber match and win the series. But, you know, not the most positive outlook here. Aaron Judge goes on the 10-day IL with a right hip strain. This is retroactive to the 28th. I think he was trying to play through it, but ultimately the smart decision to take that time, reset, get healthy, especially with the current state of the team. Obviously, we have a lot of players on the IL at the moment, so definitely the right move for him. The offense, in his absence and in the absence of some other guys, continues to struggle. In particular, the bottom 5 hitters have been having a lot of difficulty in producing runs. And we'll talk about some stats a little bit later on in the video, but seems like those guys at the top of the lineup still sort of doing their thing. Anthony Volpe coming on after a slow start. Rizzo just continues to mash, hitting over 300, and really just being consistent. Glaber, again, continues out of that funk. DJ, basically hitting in the 4 spot nowadays, sometimes 5, depending on the lineup, but, DJ's still doing his thing. Especially with runners in scoring position, but we'll highlight some stats on those bottom 5 hitters a little bit later on in the video. The rotation continues to remain inconsistent. Clark Schmidt really just still has not turned that corner. Johnny Brito, 2 bad starts in a row, and not even sure if it's just people are figuring him out. I'm just not sure if it was a little bit of a revelation those first few starts with how well he was pitching, but he continues to struggle. Nestor had really his first bad start of the season when we were in Texas, allowing 7 earned runs, I believe. So, yeah, Domingo did pitch well 2 nights ago, and the Yankees blew that game, or Aaron Boone blew that game. But, that's how it goes. But I think this rotation still needs a lot of help. Apparently, Severino might be joining the team in about 2 to 3 weeks, I would say, always take that with expectations, might still be about a month away. Rodon continues to struggle with his rehab with his back, so still no solid time frame on him, but this rotation is still really inconsistent and needs to find a groove here after a good start to the season. The last key thing of note to talk about, the back end of the bullpen still needs some help. Just came out that Jonathan Loaizaga is going to have surgery on his elbow to remove some bone spurs. You'd think that he is, just about shelved to the end of the season. Lou Trevino, who we thought might rejoin the team at around the midway mark, we found out that he is going to be getting Tommy John surgery, so he will be done for the season, an effective guy for us last year. And then the names are just going down, and it's tough to see. And especially in a time where Clay Holmes continues to struggle with that location, walking a lot of guys. He blew the save 2 nights ago, the first game of the Cleveland series. it's just a tough spot. I mean, we really need to see Michael King step up. He got the save last night, so I'd love to see him continue to get high leverage positions. The Yankees have really shied away from using Ron Marinaccio. Really want them to use the notch in more high leverage spots. Makes a lot of sense. He's been a contributor dating back to last year when he made his appearances with the Yankees. I think we need to see more of those two guys, particularly in high leverage spots. Wandy Peralta continues to be good. Command just a little bit off, but you can still tell that stuff is there. That confidence is there for him. So I'd like to see these three guys mainly work the back end and maybe even transition Clay Holmes out of this closer role because he just can't seem to be getting it done. I think he has like 8 or 9 blown saves since the trade deadline last year when he started to slip. Overall, not a crazy number, but when we're up games, we really need to be winning these games, especially when we're struggling right now. Need to make sure that you can secure those wins, and to let one like the other night slip away on Monday is just really brutal to see. So we'll talk about some key stats from this season. With the first bullet, the season slash line, so that's batting average, on base percentage, slugging, 227 for the Yankees, 297, and 379 for slugging. Obviously all of these are down, particularly the slugging. The Yankees have had difficulty putting the ball out of the park of recent, which might correlate with their slide. A lot of people talk about that overall, but looking particularly at the outfield, so these are just players that, not like individual players, but by position, whoever is playing, I guess, sort of weird to describe, but overall for the left, center, and right fielder position, a 200 batting average, 247 on base percentage, and under 300 slugging. Yes, Aaron Judge is out, but he has played this season, and the fact that slugging is that low is incredible. And we'll talk about a couple of guys for that reason in particular. IKF playing a lot of center field. He doesn't even have an extra base hit this year, so slugging, highly predictive of home runs, or highly correlates rather with home runs, doubles, extra base hits, things like that. So we're not seeing too much of that as well. Cabrera continues to struggle, and we just need some more production out of this outfield group. Yes, Bader is coming back. Hopefully that will put a charge into this team as we continue to get healthy over the next couple of weeks and give us just a little bit of production, maybe even slot them a little bit lower in the lineup, 6, 7, just to continue to get guys on base and be able to produce, bring those guys in that continue to remain hot. The next ball we'll talk about, which is a really alarming stat to me, the Yankees have scored 3 or less runs in 14 of their last 19 games. This is the most in the MLB, and the offense just really is not there right now. We've seen glimpses of it throughout the year so far where we have those dormant games, 3 hits, 4 hits, 1 run. It's not great to see. The Yankees need to continue to find ways to get on base, whether that be patient, drawing walks. They did a great job at the beginning of the year of taking that extra bag. I feel like we've been a little bit less aggressive of recent. Just need to be able to manufacture runs, and if you can't put up more than 3, that's a difficult spot to find yourself, especially when you're having the difficulties with starting pitching, and the back end just consistently has not been able to get it done for us this year. Another really alarming stat to me, Yankees only have 3 comeback wins this season. Not sure if the Yankees led the league last year in terms of comeback wins, but we had tons of walk-off wins, a lot of comeback wins as well, particularly at the beginning of the season when we were playing really well. And just have to flip the script on this. I don't know if it's the Yankees are just sort of quitting, but just need that fire in the late innings. We need to be able to get these wins, get back on track. Obviously, the Yankees in last place in the division right now. Something I definitely never would have expected to say, but that's a reality. And we need to be able to come back in some of these games and get wins, especially if it's, we only need to put up 3, 4 runs. You just have to be able to do it. And to this point, the Yankees haven't been able to. And the last stat that we'll talk about just overall on the season, before we dive into some individual and more recent numbers, this is a stat from Katie Sharp, and they talked about it on Talking Yanks, John Boy and Jake. The top 4 batters, and this is from a couple days ago, so the stats might be a little bit different, but top 4 batters have the 5th highest weighted runs created, WRC+, and the bottom 5 have the 3rd lowest WRC+. So this really tells a tape of sort of what's going on. The guys at the top are producing, and the guys at the bottom just really aren't able to get it done and are really struggling even league-wide, not just from a Yankees perspective. And now to talk about some stats that we've seen over the past, handful of weeks here. First bolt that we'll talk about is the last 9 games from the bottom 5 batters. So this is sort of talking a stat about, like I mentioned earlier, with the WRC+, things like that. So over the last 9 games, Yankees are the bottom 5 guys batting .216, 10 RBIs, 15 runs, 26 Ks, 7 walks. So I'd love to see these number of walks go up. Still a lot of swings and misses here. And the thing about the batting average is that, there's sometimes Glaber and DJ are sliding into that spot, and they're still getting hits. And it's like, in theory, this stat isn't to highlight those guys overall because I'm not as much worried about their production, but just as, sort of an aside to these numbers, and then to exclude the game on 4/26, which is when we played in Minnesota, Kenta Maeda did not pitch well at all. Yankees ended up putting up 12 runs, so sort of took this game out as a little bit of an outlier for us. Yeah, it was a pretty good game, but just, to look at the numbers, I just wanted to take that game out because that was clearly an outlier within the past few games and doesn't highlight the stat that I'm trying to show. Obviously, that's all that stats are. You can pick and choose what you want them to show. Excluding that game, batting just over 200, 7 RBIs, 8 runs, 20 Ks, 6 walks. I mean, that's just not going to get it done in this league. Seems like the offense has definitely kicked up this year in correlation to the pitch clock, things like that, bigger bases. There's just more runs, and the Yankees are just, regressing in that department. And I thought this was an interesting stat to show just sort of exactly what's going on. I mean, if you take that game out over 8 games, that's 1 RBI, 1 run a game from more than half of the lineup. That's just sad, guys. But to talk about some of the last 15 days stats individually, so kind of a weird time frame. This is probably 12 or 13 games, 12 games. The really only positive that I wanted to highlight here, and was why I put him at the top, is my man Jose, batting just a shade under 260, 5 RBIs, 2 runs, 5 Ks, not terrible, 2 walks. So Jose getting a little bit of that pop back, getting that feel back in the bat. I feel like he's a really important driver for this team at the bottom of the lineup to be able to consistently get those runners in, get on base. I think he did a good job of that last year. And just making contact, continuing the carousel. You're not asking for these guys at the bottom to, mash, hit 300, have all these RBIs, all this production, but you do need guys on base, and you do need guys at the back to be able to bring these guys in that are constantly getting on base. So I just wanted to highlight Jose. Was off to a little bit of a difficult start. He had the home run, but just wanted to highlight Jose here as he's sort of turning a page, hopefully, and is one of these guys that will continue to contribute over the season. Some other guys continuing to struggle as Waldo, like I mentioned at the beginning, batting 143 over the last 15, 2 RBIs, 4 runs, 3 walks and Ks, respectively. He's just really had trouble, and it's been a lot of ground balls to second base, and I don't know if that's some timing. I don't know if it's with his swing. He's a guy that typically has a lot of pop, and I feel like we haven't seen a ton of this from him. We did, he's a lefty, he's a switch hitter, so I don't know if it's a situation where he's sort of only getting righty at bats and, putting a little pressure on himself. I'm not really sure, but he needs to start contributing because he's a guy who's fast on the bases as well, good base runner. Needs to start getting on base, whether it's taking walks. He's an aggressive swinger, so never going to be a guy to lead the league in walks, anything like that, but just need to see him start producing more. Aaron Hicks been getting a little bit more run. with Aaron Judge down especially. He's batting just a hair over 150, 0 RBIs, 2 runs. He's still getting on base a couple of times with those walks, but, in big spots, he's never coming through. 0 RBIs, over the last 2 weeks. That's, he's playing almost every day. So, it's very difficult to see. A surprising one to have to throw on here is Oswald Peraza, batting 188. He's got 3 RBIs, 3 runs, 6 Ks. I feel like he strikes out a fair amount. He does have that pop, but he's just been struggling a little bit. They've had him up a shade higher in the lineup, obviously with some guys missing. So, sometimes it can change with that. Just a confidence thing, guys sliding around to get pitched to a little differently, but just ultimately not producing. And the last one, off to a really hot start. I think I talked about him in my last video or the one before. Franchy Cordero is in an all-time rut right now. I think he has 17 plate appearances. He has not gotten on base once. Obviously 0 RBIs, 0 runs, 8 Ks. Just really struggling. He had that pop in his bat early, but just a guy that has sort of lost his way and sort of given his spot almost in a way to Willie Calhoun, who went deep last night. It was a good lift for the team as well. Even last night, winning with the long ball. Guys need to be able to manufacture runs, and Franchy just having a really tough time right now individually in terms of, putting the ball in play and really producing to this team offensively. So, love to see some of these guys that I highlighted over the last 2 weeks that have been struggling. Love to see them step it up as Waldo can continue to be a large part of this team, being that utility outfielder for them, whether it's playing left or right. As well in the infield as well. Peraza could be a massive piece, and you hate to see him just lose value like this, one of our top prospects, and sort of put in the spot, play well last year, but having some difficulties right now. Love to see him turn it around, and we're going to need it because injuries will continue to come. It's how baseball works, and it's next man up, and the next man isn't stepping up. Kind of simple as that. And the last thing that we'll talk about in this video is some upcoming games for the Yankees and just sort of talk about some of the importances of some of these games. The Yankees have the rubber match with the Guardians tonight. It's going to be a tough matchup. They have Shane Bieber, who we historically have had trouble hitting against for some reason, and we have Clark. So, really just a tough ask for tonight. I'm really hoping we come out with a win and put ourselves in a good spot, sort of get back on track and, win this series after dropping the last few. After that, we'll move on to a 3-game set at Tampa Bay. Best team in baseball right now. And as you can see right below that, 4 games against Tampa, sort of sandwiched with the Athletics. So, talk about the first series first. This one's really important to be able to go into the Trop, at least take one. We cannot get swept. There are obviously so many games up in the division, but the division is not over yet. Obviously, the Yankees have a lot of horses down right now. And the season's very long, but I think it's really important for us to take at least one of these games. I mean, if we can win that series, that's incredible, but the reality is they're an incredible team right now, producing a lot of runs. Their pitchers have been stepping up in key spots for them. As guys even continue to go down for them. Obviously, everybody's dealing with injuries at the moment, but really important for us to be able to take one there. Then we head home after that. We have a 3-game set with the Oakland A's, team that's been performing above expectations so far. This is a series that at the beginning of the year, I'd say this, is a sweep. It has to be, and now I'm praying for 2 out of 3. I mean, games at the stadium, really hoping that, again, we can get momentum from this Guardian series, take it on down to Tampa, but, that's not, it's not a lock at this point, but hopefully we can get 2 out of 3 from the Athletics and roll that right into another 4-game set with the Rays. This one's going to be really important for us to take it home. That's 7 games, I think, of our 19. Kind of forget the exact number of how many times you play all the division rivals at this point, but a really important 7 games because they've been rolling. a key opportunity for us to be able to step up, reshift our focus, and we have a lot of divisional games coming up, and I think that starting these games off the right way and sort of giving us momentum into that stretch will be really important to help us catapult back up the divisional standings and put us back in a position when the guys are healthy to capitalize and start rolling again, because it's a tough time in Yankeeville right now, and that happens throughout the baseball season. Obviously, it happened last year, but need to be able to power through, need to be able to find ways to manufacture wins. They have not been doing that over the past week and a half, 2 weeks, so, let's hope that it starts here. But that's going to do it for this video. Hopefully have another one up for you guys at the end of the week to sort of highlight the rest of the matchups this weekend through our series with the Rays. Hopefully have some good news to bring from that, and some guys on the men, maybe some updates there as well. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. This has been your boy Frankie Bones. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Peace out.